Hello, welcome to rockstar.com, presenting Rockstar ETL. So we've got our basic pipeline here. We've got some data loaded into our initial staging table. We perform a count of the number of rows by partition, grouping by partition over here. We can see that we have data in today's partition and yesterday's partition. Now say that we had finished our ETL and populating of our data warehouse, and we now wanted to, for example, clear out this partition. What we could do is write a delete statement to delete from today's partition where any data that was found there. An alternative is we could also update our table and set the partition date to some other partition in the future or the past. So what we could do is do a date add, current date, and we could put it in tomorrow's partition, for example, where alright, we've got unsupported column in update statements. It's because the correct column is actually partition time, which is a timestamp. So that's valid. So partition date is like a shortcut partition which you can use for querying a particular partition, but partition time is actually what you should be using. Right, so what we could do here is we could move all of our data from one partition to another. So we could, for example, move everything from today's partition into yesterday's once we finished processing it, thereby leaving our current partition free to receive new data. This is a good pattern if you want to process data multiple times in a day. What you want to do is once you've finished, you first ingest your data, load it into the current partition, into today's partition, and then before doing any further batches, move that data into, for example, yesterday's partition. So what we would do is, in this case, we'd go -1. So this statement would update this table. Any data in today's partition would be moved to yesterday's. So what we can then do is save this SQL statement. Let's call this clear today's partition.sql, or you can leave it as .txt. You could leave it like that. So updating our invoice table, we're setting the partition to yesterday, where if there's anything there today. Alright, so we've saved our SQL statement inside of a text file. The next thing we need to do is copy that into our bucket. Like so. Clear today's partition. select it, copy it, and let's create a new job step. This would be a SQL job step. We'll disable it at first by putting in 0 number of runs per day. I do want to be notified of this job via email address to notify when the job step runs. Again, if you do not want to be notified, simply leave this blank. It's not a required field. Pipeline, let's call this cleanup. Put in our project ID, location. We'll say move to yesterday is our job name, and copy our SQL statements, buckets, subfolder, file name. So this is the path to the file in cloud storage containing the BigQuery SQL statement, any valid standard SQL statement, including DML for data manipulation language and BigQuery machine learning. Don't write a select statement because this is not going to return the results and do anything with the results. This is meant for updating, deleting, and we save it. And now we have our cleanup pipeline, and we have our move to yesterday, which is a SQL job type. Got in all of our details, and let's adjust the time here and set it to run. And as always, we go and check our stack driver logging. What we can see is every 5 minutes from whenever you start the VM, it's going to run and enter these 2 log entries about to get the projects to run. And if nothing is specified, i.e. if any of the pipelines are set to, if all the pipelines are set to 0, then you will see these 2 lines every 5 minutes saying about to get the projects, but no pipelines were found to process. And we've already received our first notification. It's running. This is our job name, moved to yesterday. Over here, our cleanup pipeline. Over here, and it has a status of running. And here we've got our success email already, so it's already finished running. So now if we go and check in stack driver logging, you can see about to get the projects to run, running project pipeline cleanup. Our pipeline only has 1 step, number of runs per day, and our UUID. Starting run of step 1, cleanup pipeline. About to execute, about to queue job type SQL. Checking to see, is it authorized to rerun? Yes, it is authorized. Here's the SQL statements. The post is OK, 200. Final status is success. And finally, doesn't need to reloop. Finishing step 1, our cleanup pipeline. Completed the pipeline, which we called cleanup. And once again, all pipelines completed, UBI Rockstar. Great, so what we can do now is disable our pipeline by choosing 0 runs for the day. And what we should expect to see is if we run our partition check query to see how many rows per partition we have, we're going to expect to see both of these rows from these two separate partitions all in yesterday's partition. So we should see one row with yesterday's date and 140 odd thousand rows. So let's run that. And there we have in yesterday's partition 141,020 rows. So our update statement was successful. We've effectively moved all of our rows into yesterday's partition, thereby leaving today's partition free to ingest new data for processing. So this is a very powerful pattern for intraday data processing. And that concludes the demonstration of our SQL job on rockstarETL.